I have thought I was an abolitionist for forever.
You are,
years.
and I am too, and even
But I have been very hesitant, honestly, to call myself an abolitionist because of how abolitionists act.
Yeah.
And so this happened, especially during the Trump, voting for Trump in 2020. I voted for him twice. I voted for him in 2020 and then 2024.
Yeah.
And so, but it kind of became a big issue this last go around.
Where are we, buddy?
So today we're at a company here in Shelbyville, Kentucky, Shuck Fence, which is actually who I subcontract to all my work to. So
this is kind of a staple, I guess, in Shelby County.
Yeah,
they've been around
been here a long time.
A lot of fences
Yep.
by these guys.
Yep.
Let's talk about your legs, dude. Nobody's seen your legs before.
Well,
you're just wanting to go back to the Rhodesian.
yes, Rhodesia forever.
Yeah.
Some people wear shorts.
Infantry.
Some people wear shorts because they're comfortable. I wear them because Rhodesia's coming back. Yeah.
I'm down for that. Totally. No, I thought we'd talk about my article that I put out here a week
Which
ago.
one?
Yeah, the one about abolitionism being, what do you call it, Big Tent abolitionism.
Yeah.
I've taken a lot of flack for that. Well, two things. One, there's been a huge response. People are pretty excited about that concept. It's not a new concept at all, just the idea of big tent, meaning
Sure.
we're trying to include as many people as we can. And that's probably problematic for a lot of abolitionists, but
Compromise.
it feels like compromise to them.
Yeah.
But a lot of abolitionists think that's that call themselves abolitionists, like, yeah, exactly, because they see the fracturing, the division that's happening within the movement, and especially when we come down to the legislative season, and we're, it's January and February, and we're working with legislators and stuff like that. It's that when we need basically a Catholicity surrounding the bills that we're trying to champion.
Yeah.
And fractured ideology does not serve that purpose well. It actually makes it harder. But
Of course.
I don't know. You probably didn't even read my article, did you?
Yeah, I read it.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
I wanted to make sure before I shared it.
That's true. You did share it.
Yeah.
That's good.
So yeah, no, I thought it was good. I guess that's where I'm at. I mean, I have thought I was an abolitionist for forever.
You are, and I am too.
Yeah.
And even,
But I have been very hesitant, honestly, to call myself an abolitionist because of how abolitionists act.
Yeah.
And so this happened, especially during the Trump, voting for Trump in 2020. I voted for him twice. I voted for him in 2020 and then 2024.
Yeah.
And so, but it kind of became a big issue this last go around. Me and you did a podcast, and we talked to Joseph Spurgeon and all this. And for me, abolitionism is that I will not support or promote or help in any way any kind of bill that or legislation of any type that is promoting any type of compromise.
Unequal weights and measures, that kind of stuff.
Yes, no, it is
half measures.
6-week bans or heartbeat bills, all these things, they're abominable.
Yeah.
They're horrible. Now, what abolitionists have done is gone from that stance that we don't support anything like that to if you support a candidate who might support those things or who does support those things, now you're compromising. But no, I'm still going to tell them and call them out and tell them that that's wicked and to not do that.
100%.
But when you have like our last, the last presidential election, we have likened Trump to Jehu in 2 Kings. I said this a couple of weeks ago, and I think it's an apt. Sorry, I've been having trouble with my voice, but I think it's puberty. I'm going to puberty.
Finally,
7 kids. I finally got there. But so an apt analogy or whatever would be that we had a choice this last election between Jehu and Jezebel. And Jehu, as we brought out and as we've been preaching through it, he had lots of problems. He didn't go all the way and abolish all of the idolatry of Israel. Like, he wasn't ideal.
Yeah.
But he was a strong man that was able to get stuff done, and he was much better than being ruled by Jezebel. And that's where we were.
Well, they're going to complain that that's the lesser of two evils, but you and I argued that this is not the lesser of two evils. There was one who was objectively better and better for the nation at the time. So you're talking about something. I think I want to go back before my article. I spoke at a conference not this last Saturday, but the prior Saturday.
Yep.
It was the Abolish Abortion Kentucky conference. I was asked to speak. Happy to speak. Could care less if I did speak, but if I can be a blessing and further the cause, that's my goal. And then some people, of course, because we had last year advocated for people to vote for Trump, they said that I should not have been allowed to speak.
You're not an abolitionist.
Because I'm not a true abolitionist.
Retarded.
The funniest thing about this is the Norman Statement, which was written to kind of codify what an abolitionist is, and I agree with that.
Yep.
With that confession, or if that's what you call it, or that statement. Even the signers, many of the signers voted for Trump as well.
Of course they did. Yeah.
But regardless, this group, there's a small portion of them that sees voting record as being a compromise.
Sure.
Yeah, and so they would have said I was not, and did say I wasn't qualified to speak at that conference, despite my voting record, or my my avocation for the right legislation, what I've stood for, and my being against the pro-life movement, those kind of things. It didn't matter to them. It's because of that. That means I'm compromised. And here's their argument, and I'll throw this, because you and I haven't talked about this, but their argument is that, so Trump is horrible on abortion, and so he supports IVF, and it just came out, just a wicked thing where he's going to try to lower the prices of that and just kind of increase the amount of that. And they're like, that's what you voted for. My argument is, no, that's not what I voted for. I voted for the man because I knew he was best for our nation. Yep. But I don't vote for his wicked ideology. And so somebody said it online, and I think it's helpful. The flip is true. So if you didn't vote for him, that means you're not for the things that he's for. Yeah. Right. So you're not for the release of Cal Zastro and the abolitionists those that were arrested here a couple years ago. You're not for all the good things that he's done. You're not for the immigration purge that we're seeing right now. You're not for him working to lower the interest rate on mortgages for young people and stuff like that. So you can't claim any of those good things that he has advocated.
Exactly. And it's part of the temptation for me, and I know for others, has been, I did vote for him. And it was objectively the right thing to do. Yep. It was objectively better. I don't care what people like John Speed or T. Russell Hunter say. Yeah. Like, oh, Kamala might have been better. That is the most retarded take. Yeah, I just don't care. I absolutely do not care.
No, they're advocating for that, brother. They're actually some people have said that we would be better off on an abortion standpoint if Kamala Harris was president right now.
Those two men specifically.
That's ridiculous.
Have both said that. Yeah. And so it's ridiculous. And so that's kind of to my point, that it's like, if that is the measuring stick for being an abolitionist, I guess I'm not one. But convictionally, I don't think any incremental laws should be passed. Yeah. But I also hold a position that if they are, contrary to my conviction, what I want, if they are, I'm still going to rejoice when babies are saved. I'm still going to rejoice when Roe v. Wade is overturned. And to me, all these things are in-house debates politically. Yeah. How do we end up getting rid of this? Yeah. And, I would still consider myself an abolitionist, and at the same time, why do you care? Why do you even want the term?
Why have the term abolitionist if it does carry with it the problems that come along with it?
Yeah, well, there's problems in every term. I mean, like, I would call myself a Christian nationalist, but there's people that I don't really want to be associated with that they would call themselves Christian nationalists.
So you think in general it's a helpful term, it's something we should fight for?
It distinguishes us from the pro-life
100%
crowd. That's the difficulty. The pro-life movement is completely compromised and garbage. Yeah. And doesn't actually want to get rid of abortion. Yeah. That's the problem. And so this is why men like Doug Wilson, it's like they're not going to call themselves pro-life, but they don't fall in the abolition camp, so they come up with another term.
Yeah.
We need to be able to describe where we're at. And so as far as,
it's helpful. I think it's worth fighting for. It's worth trying to have. So the argument for the big tent abolitionism wasn't to compromise on anybody to compromise. It was to recognize that when you speak to a legislator and they agree that we should be champion equal justice, and by that we mean criminalization of abortion.
Yes.
When you're looking for that and they agree with that, but they don't understand all the tenets, they don't understand all the history, they don't understand why that, and then you look at them and you want to cut them off and say, well, you're not this, you're not good enough for us. That's a problem that we should be saying, okay, you're welcome in the camp, and I think it should be more about discipleship at that point. We bring them along in the principles of abolitionism. That's what we should be looking to do.
Yes.
That was my argument.
Yes.
I didn't realize that when I wrote that article, there would be people that didn't know who I was, obviously, and then think that when I say difference in methods or pace or those kind of things, they think, oh, he's a smash-mouth incrementalist, or he's an incrementalist, he's a pro-lifer who's just trying to get everybody to be nice. And no, baked in when I say equal protection, equal justice is criminalization of abortion. And so the same rights for the postborn, for the preborn is how I would view that.
So I think one way to view it would be, I think the correct way to view it is that as a abolitionist, I'm not willing to work with the pro-life camp. Like, I'm not willing to go in and be like, okay, I'm with you guys.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. But I would do that with a smash mouth like Doug Wilson. I would absolutely work with him. And because he's a smash mouth incrementalist, then I have to act like he's a compromising and wicked person.
By that, you don't mean that you would join with him in a compromised law, because I don't know what he would push for that, but because he is willing to do something, but you would work with him, welcome his involvement in the abolitionist movement, even though he's a smash mouther.
I'm willing to fight side by side with him and claim.
So here's what I would say: when a pro-lifer will compromise their position to support me, why wouldn't I accept that support?
Sure.
Because they're going to support me. I'm not saying that I'm changing my position.
Yeah.
I think if you want to join with us on a bill, I'm going to welcome you. And I'm going to say, and this is the reality of it.
You're Catholic.
Well, when you work with a legislator, 100% they're Republican, and they're conservative, and they're pro-life. They're already that's how they view themselves, right? So
pro-gun, pro-life.
Who do they vote for? Who did that person vote for? They voted for Trump. They support Trump. They're all supporting Trump, and so you've got the potentially, if you're a purist, you have the most compromised person you could think of, but they support your bill and they're with you on the basics of this goal. And so to say, hey, welcome, come, and let's work together on this, I think is wise.
Yeah.
You know, they're a co-belligerent is the word I would use for that, and we should welcome co-belligerents until they prove to be enemies and against us, which some people end up doing, you know.
I just think that we need to learn to think in categories. We need to learn to think strategically. Yeah. And the failure, the absolute refusal to think strategically and categorically for the abolitionists is why I'm just like, it just kind of makes me sick. And they're going to accomplish nothing. It'll end up fine. Okay, John Speed and Hunter can go be in a room by themselves somewhere. That's fine. Go accomplish, do what you want to do.
Well, they feel good about themselves when they do that.
Sure.
They think of themselves as Gideon's army. The smaller we get, you know, when you have the Lord,
for it,
if
buddy.
the Lord's on your
Do
side,
it.
then you are in the majority.
Go for it.
Yeah, I get it. But we're really trying to accomplish something, and that's going to be accomplished through some bridge building here.
Yep.
It's going to be accomplished through not compromising my position, because I'm going to still argue for it, but I'm going to treat you different. Let's say you do have that position. I'm going to say, hey, I call myself a pure abolitionist, and this is why, but man, I welcome your support here.
Yeah.
And we're working together on this bill, and I'm not going to say you need to repent, you need to do this kind of stuff, you know, because I'm discipling you. Yeah, I think this is a lot like the word Christian. You know, we got people in our church that are Christians, right? They're young, they've just come from the faith, they're covered in tattoos, you got somebody, they're living with their girlfriend. And they're coming to church, and we look at them like, we slowly bring them into, we disciple them through these things.
Yes.
And, some of them we do have to, you've got to discipline on some level, but I think we've got to have just a different attitude. As our church had this issue, we had people that did not want to become members of our church because we were a confessional church and you had to hold to that confession. You remember as we walked through this whole process. So we had this massive amount of people that are coming to church, but none of them wanted to become formal members. And the reason why is that the bar was so high for them to be considered a member of the church.
Yeah, basically the only people that could become members were someone that grew up Reformed Baptist. Yeah. They understood. It's like some people, it wasn't even that they disagreed, they didn't understand the issues of something.
Yeah, they're just so young in it, they didn't understand it. And so what we did is we just said, hey, look, if you're going to be a part of this, we don't need you to actually say you believe all these things. We need you to acknowledge that you'll be taught all these things.
Yes.
This is what we, as a group, believe and affirm. And look at these over. Do you disagree with anything? No, I don't disagree. Maybe I don't understand this or something like that. And so we would welcome them in, and then we disciple them.
Yep.
And then I think that's been a better model for us, our members.
Or the other option, the only other, you end up with a church that cannot bring new believers into membership.
Yep.
And so the abolition movement has become, they can't bring, people that are kind of new to this idea and recognizing that this isn't right, like compromising on all these things. And they could and want to come in.
Yeah.
But they make it so hard by being jerks and by you have to have every little thing just perfect, or you're not an abolitionist.
Let's talk about behavior. So behavior is the abrasive, calling people to repent all the time, not recognizing youth, immaturity, ignorance, not being willing to bring people along. I think that abrasiveness, that shows up in the comment sections, that shows up in the rhetoric.
It's about winning an argument, not winning people to your
side. And
it's
crushing people, and it's just being this purist.
Yeah.
That's one aspect. Another aspect, I think, is what we've called agitation. I'm all for agitation in certain contexts, but when you're...
I'm for mature agitation.
Yeah, some of them, it lacks a maturity.
Yeah.
It's...
The comical thing is that we would both be seen as agitators.
I know, right.
Big time. And yet, I'm looking at so much of what I see as the agitation in especially the abolition movement, and it's so immature.
Yeah.
It's so... I remember years ago, I went through a thing with Vodi Bakum talking about apologetics, and he was defending the use of being winsome.
Yeah.
Winsome has become a dirty word.
Yeah.
And we don't want to be winsome like Keller was winsome.
Yeah.
But we must desire to win people to the biblical correct position.
Gracious.
So we need to be winnable.
And gracious.
We need to speak truth with grace.
Yeah.
And so if we're not willing to do that, if you have to be a jerk to be an abolitionist, then I'm just not interested.
Yeah. We've talked about like T. Russell Hunter. I think he actually does. He is an example, I think, of he's not being abrasive. His argumentation is hard, and it's confrontational, but his actual demeanor is better.
He's better on the street. You get him in a debate with someone like Wilson, and he comes across.
I never watched that debate.
He comes across as a jerk.
Yeah, I never watched that, but I've seen him like in the interactions, and I actually appreciate those. But I think there's a context for that, and the context for that isn't in the Capitol Rotunda, where you're making legislators uncomfortable. Because that's the problem we're facing. People don't want to meet with us because
we're abolitionists.
Yeah. And the abolitionists have done certain activities that have made them like super off-put by that.
Yeah.
And so we have to overcome that. To just say, hey, abolitionism is a big tent, and there's a lot in here, so you're going to have people that are more, obnoxious in their application of it. But hopefully you don't see me that way, and I'm a pastor and just want to sit with you, want to talk to you about the same issues. But I recognize that there's a level of this may be a little off-putting.
Well, I have a good friend who I've known for many, many years, ran and won the Kentucky Senate seat, and one of them. And he, that was his problem. All these guys were at the Capitol here in Kentucky, and he was there and he was like the only guy that was willing to go and talk to him. Yeah. I think probably because he knew me. Yeah. He had talked about it a lot. And I was trying to, have conversations with him and talk to him and kind of bring him along. And basically, like, he talked to me after that, and he was just like, he said, you guys are, and of course he was saying you guys because he was lumping me in with them.
Yeah.
And he's like, you guys come at us and say that we have blood on our hands. He said, we think we're trying to save babies.
Yes.
And he said, that's what I think. And he said, maybe I'm not doing it just right. He said, the things I'm advocating for, maybe it's not perfect. He said, I don't know. I need to learn more, all these things. And he's open, but he also, it's like someone standing there with a sign with a dead baby with, hands dripping blood. And he said, a lot of us really do want to save babies. We really do want Christ to be honored in the Capitol. We really do want these things. We haven't grown up with abolition.
Yeah.
We don't even, that wasn't even in our minds. And now we're genuinely trying to save babies and being called murderers. We're not going to work with those people.
Yeah.
He said, we're not going to listen to them. We're not going to sit down with them. We're not going to anything.
Yeah.
And so that is, it's not about compromising. It's about recognizing where people are at.
Yeah.
And we want to bring them along.
Yeah.
But it is different. Preaching abolitionism is not preaching the gospel.
Yeah, well, they treat it like that.
Exactly.
And they swing bats.
Yes.
They write statements and swing bats at the heads of legislators, and it puts them on such a defense, as opposed to approaching them as men who maybe are just getting it wrong right now, or recognizing that they have a righteous desire, but they have a wrong application, and maybe just misunderstand on how to do this. And so to educate them, teach them, disciple them is the word I'd use, bring them along into righteous behavior.
But when you get to the point that the abolition movement is attacking Jeff Durbin, you've lost the plot somewhere.
Yeah.
Which is what has happened recently.
Yeah. I would even say this about Trump. So Trump just made, I think, a horrible decision on IVF.
Sure.
Why is he doing that? What's his goal? His goal is because he thinks that families should be big.
Yes.
So he actually has a righteous goal with a poor application.
Sure.
And so that's what we would talk to him about that and how he should do that. If I were able to speak to him, or we get Dusty Devers or somebody who can sit in the Oval Office with him and talk to him about these kind of things, this is how he should be approached.
Yeah.
It's like, man, that's a righteous desire. That's good. Well, let me tell you why that's a bad application.
Yeah.
Because in each application, there's 30 children that are going to be frozen.
I got friends I grew up with. They're Christians, and it never even crossed their mind. They think that IVF, why not?
Christians genuine Christians they're ignorant to it. They don't know.
Exactly. And so when we treat them like, oh, you just want to murder babies, it's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And so we've got to do the work in teaching through these things and helping people understand them. And when we just throw accusations around, it's just very unhelpful.
Yeah, I agree.
So we do. I called out Trump on Twitter, like, we need to call these things out when they're missing it. But at the same time, it's like, I think his desire is right. Yeah. So what should we do? We should try to seek to educate people the right ways that we should promote children.
100%. Yeah. So I think it's a discipleship. I think it's an access. One of the things that I've been encouraged about Trump is that he has surrounded himself with Christians. Yeah. And he desires righteous things. Even now, we're starting to hear him talking about, his own salvation and going to heaven and this kind of stuff. I hope, my prayer is that in Trump's presidency, he'll actually come to genuine faith. Man. And through that, we'll be indwelt by the Spirit, and through that will come conviction and change and those kind of things, and we'll actually end up more righteous than we have begun. And I think there's been a lot lot of things that have happened.
Well, we prayed for that in the Call to Worship Sunday.
Yeah, we are praying for his salvation.
Yeah. So,
well,
anyway.
I don't know if you got any more on this topic, but thought we'd hit it here real quick.
I think we need to be mature. I think we need to think militarily. I think we need to think strategically.
Yeah.
You don't win a war by only thinking about the final objective.
And that's pragmatism, brother.
No,
you can't be pragmatic.
There's a right. Call it what you want.
Here's the deal. There's a righteous pragmatism. If you're gonna open air preach, you want to preach on that corner, not that corner, because that corner over there is better acoustics and better access, and this corner is often nobody's gonna see it.
Yeah.
So if I preach on that corner and I do it based on a pragmatic decision, have I sinned? No, pragmatism is there is a righteous pragmatism. Yeah. And a pragmatic approach that's righteous in the issue of abolitionism is discipleship and bringing people along as opposed to swinging bats at their heads.
Sure.
And calling them always to.
And there are times for that. I think my issue is that
100%.
there are times to speak harshly, and there's times not to.
Yeah.
And those people that don't seem to have multiple voices and do not seem to be able to like recognize that, there just seems to be a lack of maturity.
Yeah.
And it's not, I don't see much that's out of the abolition movement that's pastoral.
You know what? This kind of reflects, I think, just the qualifications for open air preaching. We would argue that somebody who's going to open air preach has to be elder qualified.
Yeah.
They don't have to be an elder, but they have to, the general demeanor of their life should be that way. And I think this is true about, champions going before legislators and stuff. I really think you've got to be pastoral in some sense. There's got to be something like that. But the problem with the abolitionist movement is it includes a lot of the blowhards and those people that are just naturally hard, and they have found a place that they can infiltrate and be jerks and feel like they can be that way.
Yeah.
And I can name them.
Well, there's the Venn diagram with the guys that just want to be open air preachers, lone wolf open air preachers, and abolitionism. It's just one circle.
Yeah.
Like those guys are always the same.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, my church is all compromised. All churches are compromised. They're all wicked, and therefore I'm going to go out and do my own thing. And it's not a good. I just don't think it's going to accomplish anything.
Yeah, this is why I think one of the good calls that's happened in the abolitionist movement is church. That's part of the norming statement.
Yes.
You're going to be connected to a local church, because a lot of them, they're not or haven't been connected, and so that's something that's been good. And you disciple towards that. Why is that important? That you need to be in submission to leadership and elders. One other thing I'll mention real quick is loud women.
Oh yeah,
the abolitionist movement
has a problem.
is full of loud women.
Yeah,
and that's problematic.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and even I was riding the truck. Caleb Moody works for me.
Yeah.
And he was talking about, he was on your post, and the woman, or not your post, but the woman that went after you on Facebook.
Sure.
And made the big post.
One of several.
One of several, yeah. But the one that made that post, and Caleb was, he had responded a few times. I just stayed away from it because they went after me and accused me of stuff, and I'm like, I ain't defending myself for these people.
Yeah.
But he said, the same egalitarian mindset that undergirds abortion is alive and well in the abolition movement. And I was like, bro, you need to comment
tweet that out.
You need to say that. And so I helped him craft it a little bit because he was swinging a bat a little bit.
Yeah.
So we worked on it a little bit, but it's true. It's very true that it was a very insightful thought that these women do not recognize that they're defiant of authority. They're loud. They're not respectful. Yeah. And there's not a gentle and quiet spirit.
Yeah.
There's not. And so,
Yep, that's it.
Anyway, problematic.
Right, well, I'm hopeful that we've shaken some stuff up and people are thinking about these things, and I don't know what the end result will be. I feel like actually what my call has done is, for Big Ten abolitionism has actually made it worse almost. They're dividing over this particular issue.
They're doubling down.
At this point.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you.
God bless.